teaspoons of yeast, a little bit generous. 3/4 of a cup of non-dairy milk, which happens to be hemp today. I've never done hemp before.
So it's 200 mils, right?
200 mils, 3/4 of a cup. Sometimes I wind up adding more because it can be a bit dry. Maybe the sweet potatoes aren't as moist. But I have to warm this a little bit, and our microwave is bust. So we warm it.
So if you did it in a cast iron pan, you could claim that you were doing it old school.
In a cast iron pan, just to heat the milk. Yeah. So once the milk is warm to touch, nice and warm to touch, I add it to the yeast and let it sit for 5 minutes. After it sat for 5 minutes, I stir in 3/4 of a cup of sweet potato puree that I did the other day, a couple tablespoons of oil.
Which oil do you use?
Olive oil.
Okay.
Yeah, you could probably use coconut oil, but I use olive oil.
Costco's oil.
Yeah. And then, I stir in sweet potato puree and half cup of flour. Whisk it until there's no lumps and let that sit for 30 minutes. And then I will update you later. It's pretty easy. It's kind of a low-knead bread. You cook it in a cast iron pan. I have one that's just about the right size for all the buns. And it's quite yummy. You can spice it any way you want. I've been using thyme. And that's all for now. Bit of a generous 3/4 of a cup on the sweet potato puree, more like a cup.
And then you add that in later?
No, that's going to be dog food.
Dog food?
Yeah. That's just sitting for 5 minutes to activate the yeast. I'm very imprecise in my measurements, I'm afraid.
So the milk's not boiled?
No, just warm.
Gently warmed, yeah.
Just warm. Shall we give this to Becky and Bear when Bear shows up?
Yeah. He's having a hard day, isn't he, Becky?
That's all there is for the moment. So there we have some bubbly yeast.
So
And just swishing it around a bit.
So it's been together for about 5 minutes, right?
Yeah.
How bubbly is it?
It's not that bubbly, it's bubbly.
Bubble. It's alive.
It's alive. And I'm going to add the sweet potato and a half cup of flour.
And a half cup of flour.
Yes. That's 3 cups of flour I have kind of measured out there, so this is a half cup, but it's pretty rough estimate. I'm just going to whisk that in there so it's not lumpy.
How long does that take?
To whisk it? Not very long.
Why would you not use a food processor?
Why would I?
Because people do.
Well, I mean, there's a time and place, but this doesn't really need that. I use a food processor for some things. There's a few little lumps, but they're sweet potato lumps, so I'm not all that worried. And then we let that sit for half an hour. Somewhere warmish if possible. I just had the oven on here, so it's kind of warm. There.
Good.
30 minutes. See, it's gotten nice and puffy.
Has it? Oh, it's bigger.
It's nice and puffy, so I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of oil. I'm going to add a bit of salt.
What type of salt are you using?
Pink Himalayan salt.
Because it has no plastic in it.
Probably plastic and everything. I'm not much of a measurer, like I said. And then you can add herbs. Dry, fresh, different mixtures, whatever you like. I think oregano might be kind of strong. I've been sticking with thyme because it seems to be quite nice. And the recipe calls for 1 to 2 tablespoons. So, you know, 1, 2 is nice. Stir that around a little bit.
It's thicker. Could you make this in a bread maker, somebody asked? We don't have a bread maker anymore, do we?
No, it rusted out. Could you make it in a bread maker? You know, the bread maker takes the kneading out of it, and this doesn't really need much kneading. So I don't think you need to. Haha, need to?
Don't give up your taste.
And it's 3 cups of flour. And like I say, I often find that it's a little dry. You don't want it...
Moist.
You do want it moist.
You want it moist?
You do want it moist. You want it a bit sticky. So I just pop in more milk if I think I want it. That's just my way of doing things.
So you've left the oven on, any reason for that?
I just turned it on. I'm going to turn it off in a minute. I'm just going to put this in the oven too. I just like it to have somewhere warm. But I don't leave the oven on. I just sort of put it on very low and then turn it off. And leave it in there. It's warm enough day, I could probably put it on the back porch.
Mm.
Now, I'm going to get my hands in there shortly.
Mr. Bear's in a growly mood today.
He is. He doesn't seem to like Tom Petty. I'm going to get my hands in there in a minute.
Has good taste.
I like Tom Petty.
Mr. Bear does not.
Mr. Bear does not. He does not. See, it still seems... For this dough, you want it to be a little wet. It says to have it sticky, like a sticky consistency.
So if you throw it on the ceiling, it would stick for a bit and then peel off.
Well, so it's a little tacky.
Yeah.
So
it would stick to the ceiling for a bit and then fall off. You should try that.
Right on your head. There. Try a little bit right now.
Mr. Bear!
And this is a little sticky. So, if I made it too sticky, I could always add a little bit more flour. Like I say, I don't think this is an exact science of bread making. It's more about feel.
Did you wash your hands?
I did, because I was out in the garden.
I was wondering.
So there's a little
The
texture.
sunburned arms.
Little textured dirt in there might not go so well. I planted some lettuce from a
Dirt's
pot.
an excellent source of B12.
It is. Well, actually not the dirt, the bacteria in the dirt.
Oh, yeah.
But I suppose our dirt from our garden would be okay. See, now normally with bread you really need it.
Yeah.
But this one you really don't need to.
Like you don't really care if there's air gaps in it, right? Not that there has been so far.
It's not about the air gaps, it's about consistency.
Well, it's been consistent so far.
It's been very good so far. So now you see it's kind of a ball, a sticky ball. So as soon as I feel like it's all mixed in, I had some flour bits on the bottom. As soon as I'm happy, the flour bits are mixed in.
You really shouldn't play Tom Petty again. It really has set Bear off.
It has. I'm just going to cheat and put a tiny bit of oil.
A tiny bit.
Oil on the bottom of my pan. I'm not a very neat cooker, am I? You can turn that off now, actually. Good work. So there you have it. A nice ball of
Nice yellow looking.
slightly sticky, slightly yellow dough, which now gets to sit for 45 minutes or so until it's kind of doubled in size.
So you can freeze them.
Yeah, you can freeze it at different stages.
So at what point could you freeze this?
Well, my tendency would be to let it rise, make it into buns, and then freeze it, but I haven't done that. One cast iron pot, which makes the nice buns, but I'm going to line it with parchment paper.
Did you do that before?
Again, in my haphazard way.
It's like a craft project.
Like a craft project. Makes it quite delightfully easy to lift it out at the end, I must confess. And you don't have to add any extra oil. And the pan doesn't really need any cleaning. So the next step will be when it has had 45 minutes or so rest, that we will form it into little balls and stick it in here. It's little cookery.
Quite the process, isn't it?
Like I say, this is Leslie's way. It doesn't necessarily mean it's a good way. There, that'll do me.
So it's in a preheated oven at 170 Fahrenheit.
Let it cool. It doesn't need to be that hot. It's just a warm place.
I know. So there it is, 170 in the oven. The oven is turned off and then it's put in for 45 minutes with the door open. So it's passive heating and it's cooling down gently. 45 minutes approximately later.
Buns.
That's sticky buns.
Sticky buns. Punch it down a little bit.
So now you've got the oven at
385.
It's just turned off.
Sorry. Oh, why? No. I want it on.
Well, it's off.
Can you do it? My hands are dirty now.
You're on bake, right?
Bake. 385. Start. Up, up, up. There you go. Buns. Cute little buns.
So you don't have to do it the way you do it, but you do it that way for a reason, right?
What do you mean?
Like you could just make a loaf of it, couldn't you?
You could, I suppose, but the buns tear apart nicely. I suppose you could do whatever you want.
Do you pre-flour your hands for this?
I don't. Maybe I should. I just get
You
sticky.
could wear nitrile gloves and go for the whole pandemic bread look.
I could. And a mask. I could. It's a bit sticky. But it's supposed to be sticky. I always think this pan is just a tiny bit too small.
So you need a bigger pan.
Going to be a little unruly today.
How do you figure out how much to do the buns?
Hmm?
How are you figuring that out?
Figuring what?
The size of the rolls.
However big you want them. There's no method to my madness. I'm trying to fill the space with semi-bun-like buns.
And there's the last bun.
It's a little sticky today.
Squish it in.
Squish it in. Get in there, little bun. So they're not perfect buns, but they will come out like buns. It just means when you eat them, you just tear them apart, so they're sort of individualized. And I get myself unsticky.
Cool.
And actually that has to rise for 20 minutes, and then bake for 20 minutes.
So the tea towel goes back on it? Or the lid?
No, the tea towel's good. And then just set it on top of the stove.
Okay.
And set the timer this time. I forgot last time for 20 minutes.
So I guess you don't use the radiators because the heating's off.
Just put it in the because there's a bit of heat that comes up from the baking oven. And that will rise, double its size, and then you will bake it.
Okie dokie.
And then you will eat it when it's hot out of the oven. Oops. I forgot to brush it with oil.
What?
Forgot to brush it with oil.
Again, the Costco oil. This special thing that you can use for your hair dye.
That bun is definitely bigger than the other buns.
Why do you do oil on it?
Ah, it just browns the top.
Oh.
And it keeps it from getting kind of dried out.
Anything else?
Nope. Let's see if they're twice as big. Oh my!
They're not twice as big.
They're twice as big. They are twice as... Don't put...
Oh, they're soft.
Now they're going in the oven.
Okay. At 385 Fahrenheit. You should be wearing oven gloves.
I will be on the way out.
You can show people your burn. Sad. Gardening burns.
Burns everywhere. My fingertips were burned. Doesn't show, but they were very painful. Alright, so sometimes it takes a bit longer. I test it by lifting it a bit and by tapping it to see if it sounds hollow. Like there's a certain sound. Tapping it should be done.
So 24 minutes?
I have found that that works, yeah. And we're having salad with it.
Yumbly salad.
With some tofu.
What type of tofu?
Black bean tofu.
Did you make it yourself?
No. Not enough time in my life for that.
Squeaky.
It's very yummy. Soon we'll have dinner.
Homemade salad and homemade dressing. So PP's going on. Smells good. What does the finger test say? We're in suspense here. Don't burn yourself. I couldn't touch that.
I'm going for 2 more minutes.
On with the PPE. Opens the oven. Inserts the bread. Shuts the door. Sets the timer.
3 more minutes.
3. 3 minutes later. PPE. No Bernie. We're a Bernie-free zone now.
I don't want to burn my burns.
And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Sweet potato bread. Cooked by a vegan chef. Demonstrating the paper.
Yeah, I'm going to put it on that table.
Okay.
Do you want to just heat up the tofu?
I'm just sure you put it on the tables. Because you might need help.
As it turns out, I do.
So the bread is now ready. And fell apart easier last time. There you go. Bread. Slice it a bit. It's cooked on the inside, I think. A little bit of vegan margarine. I love vegan margarine now. And Delicious. Very good.
It's very yummy. Nicely textured.
Max out of 10.
Very yummy.
Very tasty.
Yummy, yummy. She's a beauty.
This was a Hungry Terrier 2020 production. Our crippled terrier got down the basement stairs and ate an enormous quantity of cat food. Didn't you, Becky?
Her belly looks a bit swollen.
Yeah.